Like,
no,
you know,
nobody.
like, you know.
Yeah, no, I think we're the biggest, which is like weird to even think about, like to say, you know, we got the world's biggest woodworking account. But
Crazy.
That's wicked. That's awesome.
I match the fitted to the logo. Denim in the club seats. Compliment the polo sweater. I'ma go get her. Thanks for pulling for me, but I don't need to pull a shorty route. Lauren pulling for me. Case in point, I was chilling out in Scarborough like last night off the mic. At the Spaniard.
We kicking this thing off or what?
Get it.
We getting going?
are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling. So
All
what
right.
better way for us to follow up our last Canadian social media icon than with like the OG of social media for the maker community?
This
like
is the GOAT.
The GOAT. the Tom Brady of the maker community.
I wouldn't.
Michael Schumacher.
No,
You're right.
I-
You're way better looking than Tom Brady.
I wouldn't go that far.
But people need to see more of you, Jeff.
Yeah.
I do want to go on camera a little bit more and expand on that, maybe in the YouTube world. And
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna dive
see.
into that in a little bit.
The godfather of the maker community. Just some stats on Jeff. So he's got over 1 million Instagram followers combined with all of his businesses. Over 2 million total Facebook followers combined with all of his businesses. 500,000 TikTok followers. So you need to step that up a bit. But one of my favorites on multiple levels, it's social media, one of our favorite peers. He's a husband, father of 3, and just a good dude worth knowing, Jeff Mack.
Oh man, we got him.
Got him.
Thank you guys for having me.
We got him. It's the second episode. Why did you even agree to do this?
Eric paid me.
I wanted to talk to you
Wait,
about how we pulled this off.
Yeah, how much money is gonna go missing out of our bank account to get Jeff Mack here?
It's 6 figures.
Oh man, we can't afford you. We should probably cut this right now.
Just cut. That's done. Jeff Mack, this is a great name.
It is.
pretty-
It belongs in multiple industries.
Which ones?
I don't want to comment.
I do like the simplicity of it, because when you go to like tell people your name, whether it's for an email address or, you know, you could spell it and say it, and it's pretty straightforward.
It's a whole lot better than saying like Sulyma.
So yeah, how do you spell Sulyma? Like
Yeah.
no one knows.
No one knows.
I
No one-
still don't know.
No one knows how to pronounce it either. So
No,
that's
I
okay.
didn't. I called you Sulyma for a long time.
Yeah, at least you didn't put in an N or an R or something after. There's Sulyman, Sulymar. It happens all the time.
So,
Anyway,
yeah.
Jeff Mack. Enough about me. Jeff Mack.
Like it's just great name after great name after great name. So he's like said that's his given name. That's not a stage name or anything
You
like
know
that.
what? You guys keep talking. I'm going to go turn off that compressor.
Oh, we were gonna go check together and we never did. If you remember that,
Who's running this show?
that clearly nobody that's worth anything. No value to that. Just kicks on again. How do you turn something on that's already been turned on?
I don't know.
The joys of running our own podcast out of the shop.
Out of a wood shop.
Out of a wood shop. Turn everything off. Shut everything off.
Yeah, something else is going to go on. The drum sander's going to kick on.
We don't need it to sound like a shop in here. We just need it to look like a shop. It's like it's a
I do
set.
like the setup here. It's pretty sweet.
Not bad, eh?
Surrounded by wood.
It's not bad. It's got like a good vibe, right?
Yeah, I like it.
We've got plants from Chez Fleur here, which
I noticed.
Like I'm a little bit jaded about because I specifically asked if I could be between two ferns.
ferns, yeah.
For no particular reason, but Jay
You
was
just
like,
don't know you don't know any other type of plant other than fern.
I said ficus last time.
You did say ficus.
Yeah.
So
See?
yeah, thanks Jay Fleur. Thank you, Chronicle Brewing.
Yes, this is very good.
Yeah, the Lando.
Digging it.
That's what's up. It's usually in stock there, so that's
Yeah.
typical of mine.
Yeah, nice. Well, so we're going to try and keep our content to a nice, manageable portion this time,
do
Jay.
that.
So, I feel like kind of letting everybody know that our purpose in doing this podcast is like edutainment, right? So we want to educate, we want to provide content and material that everybody's going to be able to digest, apply to their maker life, apply to everything, but also like provide a little bit of entertainment quality and a little bit of entertainment factor in there as well.
Jeff, how do you feel about that word, edutainment?
I'm not sold on it.
Neither am I.
Just sounds weird. We get the point, but it's fine.
What other word would you choose?
Intercation.
I don't know if there's any better options, so just stick with what you got.
I'll go with edutainment. I feel like
we'll stick with it.
Intercation's not the direction we want to go. But
I don't think so.
so like, I guess my first question is, you've got 5 successful businesses, right? So how do you manage a day? What is your daily routine like to keep that umbrella up and functioning? And really, like, are you a 5 a.m. guy? Are you a 4 a.m. guy? Or are you do your best work before everybody else is awake?
So my daily schedule, my alarm goes off at 6. I roll out of bed right away. Actually, this might sound super lame, but I lay out my clothes the night before because it's like one less thing I got to think about. I just roll out of bed, get dressed with what's there. It's always a JMD shirt, but keep it easy. And then within like 10, 15 minutes, I'm in the car driving to work. I stop at Starbucks, get a coffee. Normally I'm at work by like 6:30, 6:35. A few of the guys are already there. A few guys are kind of rolling in shortly after. And I normally start my day with a walkthrough of the whole shop normally I'm the last one there, but if I'm not, I kind of see where we're at with things. And I'll end up going, into the warehouse, make sure inventory's, when things are organized, and just a quick walkthrough so I know kind of where we're starting the day. And then I'll go back through the shop, and I'll talk to Emmanuel, who's kind of my right-hand man in the shop, and kind of get an update from him as to like what the plan is for the day, and kind of what those daily goals are, and if there's any like major obstacles that I can help with. Kind of always make that help available. And then by the time I'm done that walkthrough, it's normally like 7 o'clock. Get back to my desk. I'll kind of dig through some emails, deal with the most important ones, and then. Yeah, that's normally like takes about an hour from 7 till 8. And then I'll start trying to figure out what the social media sort of plan is for the day. Not that I plan too much of it, but I'll think, I haven't been as active on Instagram as I could be. So let's make that the focus. And let's try to do 6 or 8 stories today and maybe 2 or 3 posts. Just so I know when I'm going through the shop, if I see something I got to film, I'll grab it.
You have a ton of content.
Yeah, I have over 50,000 videos on my phone.
Do you have like 6 phones?
No, 1 phone, personal and business. It's a lot in there.
There's definitely a lot in there.
Yeah.
But do you cycle through a lot of that?
Oh yeah. I reuse content all the time. We do a lot of jobs that aren't really Instagram worthy. Like we're doing a job for Amazon right now. It's 100 epoxy panels, all different sizes. They're all about an inch thick, but we've cast a few items in a few different panels, kind of like little, what are they called? Like little surprises or, what the hell's the word?
Like Easter eggs? Like
Easter eggs, exactly. Yeah, little Easter eggs. So we're working on that, but it's like not really Instagram worthy, so I don't post it, and I don't necessarily want to do this kind of job again, so we just kind of don't post it so we don't get the questions of, can you do that at my place? And because it's a very expensive job, and most companies aren't going to want to pay. And then like we're doing 500 menu boards and menu stands for a casino group out west, but like none of that made it on Instagram. So yeah, it's, for the last like month or so, it's been busy with projects that aren't on Instagram. So I just recycle through old content. I try to, clip things a different way, combine some clips, and, sometimes I'm lazy and just slap up an old clip that did well the first time, and that's that, and it, it is what it is.
And you're doing that all pre 10 a.m.
Oh yeah, so we were on that.
Yeah, that's what I was rolling right back to that.
Yeah.
So that's all pre 10 a.m.
Yeah. So I'll come up with a rough plan of what I want social media to look like that day, and then Andrea gets to the office around 8 o'clock. I normally sit in her office for a bit, and we just go over the books and the finances, and if she has any challenges throughout the day that she needs help with. And then I kind of just float around as problems arise or situations come up. I just kind of float around through the shop. If, I do a lot of running around for the business, so I'll, be driving here to see a supplier, go to see a customer, go measure up for a job, that kind of thing. So then my day normally ends around between 5 and 6. So yeah, the majority of the day just, floating around, but day ends around 5 or 6, drive home, and then hang out with the wife and kids until about 7 o'clock when all the kids go down, and then my wife and I have dinner and hang out for a bit and go to bed and do it all again.
So 2 questions with that. Number 1, you said my wife and I have dinner. Do the kids have dinner with you, or do you feed them prior to that? And then
No, we have 3 young kids. So normally they're just finishing dinner when I get home, or they've already eaten. And then, I help with like the bath time routine and get them up to bed. And then my wife and I will figure out dinner. Well, my wife figures out dinner. After that, she kind of holds down the house.
I'm like taking notes here because I feel like this is applicable to my life for sure. Because with like a 15, a 10,
floating around, or
yeah, no, with the 15, the 10, and the 2.5-year-old, like you've got 5 different things for dinner, and like then maybe we feed the kids and then figure out like what's for dinner for us.
It's nice because if we eat with the kids, we can't really have conversation one-on-one. So it's better to like let them have their moment. We can kind of tend to them, make sure they're all good. And then we can have our one-on-one time while we eat dinner and actually talk without interruptions. So it's kind of nice to catch up on the day while we eat dinner.
And you are huge on work-life balance. That's something that you've preached, and I think you've said to me countless times. I don't even know if you've said that. You know that you've said this to me countless times. But like, even getting you on this podcast, we had to get you here on a Thursday evening.
Yeah.
Onto this podcast instead of Thursday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of a Saturday, because your Saturday you spend with.
Ever since my oldest son Jameson was born, I may have worked 1 or 2 Saturdays or a weekend since he's been born, but pretty much every Saturday and Sunday are dedicated to just spending time with my wife and kids. Obviously, the odd time it gets, taken away with whatever work thing is going on, but 99% of the time it's Saturday and Sundays. Like I don't even answer phone calls. I don't look at emails. I try not to even do Instagram unless I'm like bored and, looking for something to do. But I try to, I think it's important to not let work overtake. And one thing I've noticed is you can still get everything done in the shorter amount of time, even though you feel like you can't. You prioritize, and all those higher level important things rise to the top, and all the kind of crap on the lower level stuff that you think you need to do is just busy work, and you scrap all that and you're just more efficient.
Or you delegate, or...
Delegating. Like I've got Andrea in the office, who's my right-hand person in the office, and she's taken countless things off my plate so that I can have my weekends off. And I try to leave the shop between 5 and 6, and without her and Emmanuel in the shop, it wouldn't be possible. So hiring good people.
Now
is
I'm
huge.
taking notes.
Hire better people. hire better people.
Don't even think about going after Andrea.
We've already gone down this road before.
Yeah,
Remember?
you tried.
A couple times. Wait, what? We tried? What? No, it's...
How's it working out?
Top secret information. No, it didn't.
Like with that work-life balance thing that Jeff says. So ignorantly, Jay does all of the social media for everything that we do together. Mm-hmm. Do you set up during the week like that you still get posts posted and reels done and all that stuff on the weekend, or is that just like off limits completely?
No, sometimes I'll schedule Facebook posts on a weekday set up for the weekend. But on Instagram, I don't really plan it out. I don't want to be, chained to my phone and posting and all that, where, there's more to life than just work.
Jay, this is where you're supposed to be taking notes.
Yeah, no, back here taking notes.
Yeah, this is where you're supposed to be taking notes. So there is more to life than just work. So when you get home at 5, 6 o'clock, is it like shut down for the day? You don't really look at, or is there some level of I'm always interacting with the business?
Yeah, I'm always kind of keeping an eye on things. But if an email comes in, I definitely don't respond to it. Sometimes I'll read it and be like, yeah, I'll deal with that tomorrow. But my wife would say otherwise, but I try to not let the phone get in the way of hanging out. But,
sometimes next to impossible though.
Yeah, sometimes we're both on our phones and it is what it is. But, I do make a bit of an attempt to not be on it all the time. But it's a challenge because I'm so integrated with my phone, and that's where all our business comes from, right?
Right. So I guess everybody who's listening kind of knows you as the godfather of the wood epoxy movement, at least, especially the OG, at least in Canada for sure, and probably even one could make the case that the U.S. is probably a bigger market for you than Canada even currently. But so where did it all start? Were you working a 9 to 5? How did you tell us where this thing came off the ground?
It goes back way before I ever built tables. I went to school for police foundations, so I was trying to become a police officer. And while I was in school trying to become a police officer, I was working in a steel shop on afternoons. So after school, I would go work in the steel shop. After I graduated police foundations, I went and worked full time at the steel shop. And I kind of learned, I ran a brake press, I ran a drill press, I ran a bunch of different machines in there, and I kind of learned the ins and outs. And I think it was after a couple years of like applying to be a police officer and not getting on, and while I was still working in the steel shop, I had just bought a condo and I got laid off from the steel shop. So I was like, holy crap, what do I do now? Like this, I was living paycheck to paycheck, and now there is no paycheck.
Right.
So that really rubbed me the wrong way, because I didn't see getting laid off coming at all. Like I just did not think that was happening. And so the next morning I started my own company.
Oh, wow.
I didn't like the uncertainty of working for someone else, where my destination was in their hands, where I'd rather have kind of full control over that. And if I work hard, I can make it happen. And if I slack, then it doesn't happen, kind of thing. So
you bet on yourself, right?
I bet 100% on myself.
All the time.
All the time. It was the best decision I ever could have made. And I'm now, in hindsight, I'm thankful I lost my job there, because I potentially would have still been there, unhappy. Eventually I would have become a police officer, but I don't think that was the career for me either. I'm happy with where it all ended up.
Well, I'd imagine you would be.
Yeah.
It's like crazy how things work out like that, right? And you look at like every little piece that happened along the way. Was the first business, was it maker centric, or what was it?
When I first, like the day after I got laid off, I'd been dabbling a little bit in AutoCAD, so learning how to use AutoCAD to design two-dimensional things such as privacy screens for fences,
right,
signage, that kind of thing. So I knew I could do that from a laptop in my condo, and I didn't necessarily need a space or a shop or even a truck at that point. So what I would do is I would go out and find customers that needed custom signage. I used to do a lot of work for the deck store, where I would do custom privacy screens for them, because I could design it all at my condo, outsource the metalwork to a laser shop, outsource the powder coating to a powder coating shop. And then back in the day, I had a Honda Accord. I would load the panels into the back of the Honda Accord and deliver them.
Squatting it.
What's that?
Squatting.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, luckily they weren't too heavy, but it wasn't until like 3 or 4 months in that I got a pickup truck. I sold my car, and now I could kind of move on to like some slightly bigger projects. And one thing led to another. I did these like screens and signs for like a year or two, and then I started doing custom metal table bases, because I was thinking, what other metal things could I design and have made and deliver as like a JMD product. So I started doing table legs for this other large sort of wood supplier out in Burlington, and I would, on Instagram, I would start posting the finished tables, being like, check out the legs we made for this custom dining table. And then customers would say, can you get me the whole table? So then I would outsource the top, I would get the legs made, still all out of my condo. My wife will attest that we put together many tables on our dining table up in our condo on the 11th floor. Lay out some towels on the table, and you
just like a lot of your customers currently, like that's a lot
of my customers are working out of their condos, on their balconies.
Dining room,
yeah. So yeah, kind of started the same way. You got to be resiliently resourceful. That's one thing I learned early on. Like, find a way and make it happen. So from there, I started getting some good traction on Instagram. People would be like, can you get me a dining table? So I'd get a dining table top made, get the legs made, not make as much money as I would now doing it all in-house, but it was a way to start without any major capital up front, with a space and machines and tools.
Well, realistically, like there's less to go wrong there too, right? Because you're outsourcing the majority of it. So if it doesn't go right, like, hey, somebody else has got to fix it.
The responsibility was almost zero.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's some like genius level to that, where realistically you're not the one that, if you have an epoxy failure, it's not your problem.
The one downside to that is low risk, low reward, where the bigger the risk you take, the bigger the reward can be. So, I wasn't getting rich overnight, outsourcing everything, but it was a good way to ease into it, get the ball rolling, and build up a bit of client base, learn. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so I would assume from there, then you just started building your own tables, your own tabletops, and dabbling with that? Sort
of. That's kind of a story on its own. I may have told you guys this, but so this was back in early 2015. I don't know if you guys know the Boots and Hearts Festival, the country festival at Burroughs Creek Event Grounds.
Yeah. Usually every year I'm there getting my thing on.
Are you sober?
Always.
So pictures say otherwise.
Yeah, videos, pictures say.
Videos, pictures. All of the evidence says otherwise.
You've seen a few.
So the designer that was working on the event space and the areas where the artists hang out when they're not on stage, she contacted me, and she said she needed 52 coffee tables and 52 end tables for the artist lounge. So when the artists aren't on stage, they have somewhere to hang out. So they had a bunch of like small trailers, which they obviously got like couches and chairs, but they needed some coffee tables and end tables. And they wanted to use wood from the property at Burles Creek because it was like old farmland and there was some farms there with like huge amounts of wood in there. And
Right.
so they wanted me to go up there, pull out all the wood, bring it back to the shop, mill it all up. But at this point, when I got the deposit check for the job, I didn't have a shop. I'd never really built a table aside from attaching legs by myself.
Right.
So I really had no experience at that point. And in hindsight, like I had no business taking on that job. But because the Instagram following was bigger, it made us look more credible.
Yeehaw, man. Yeehaw.
So I got the deposit check, and I had three months to find a shop, buy machines, learn how to use the machines.
Find people to help you make them.
Find people to help me make them.
Pretend like you knew what you were doing.
Pretend I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Manage the customers' expectations. And
until you make it.
during that time, my wife and I were scheduled to get married about a month before the job was due, and we had an 18-day honeymoon, like right after. So the last month of these 3 months was tied up with, getting married, going on a honeymoon, and then I had like 3 days when I got back.
Yeah, so you have you don't have a 3-month timeline. You have a
No, I had a 2-month timeline.
How many tables did you have built before you went on your honeymoon?
All of them.
25.
What?
I had 25 tables completed.
Of 52?
No, of 104.
Oh, we had 52
104.
times 2.
Yeah.
Math's not
And there
really
was
my
10
thing.
benches as well. I always forget about the benches. So it was technically 114 furniture pieces that was due, and I had 25 done. So yeah, it was stressful, but I ended up hiring a couple friends like John and Kyle who own Keyway, because we were kind of sharing a shop at the same time. My parents came down, so they were sanding and oiling tables while I was on my honeymoon, and I was like in contact,
Did you pay them?
no.
Have you paid them back in other ways?
I paid my buddies, but my parents I didn't pay. I don't think they would take the money anyways.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no, so when I came back, like we just had to kind of oil up the final few tables and delivered them, and it was down to the wire. I remember with all the metal legs, they just finished getting powder coated the morning that the job was due.
Still hot.
Oh, hot.
Still hot, yeah.
Warm out of the kiln.
Oh yeah, I was pulling them off the line, putting them on skids, and like it was like I had a U-Haul out back with all the tabletops in there.
That's crazy,
and
man.
I didn't know if they were done when I got there because I knew it was down to the wire. And
That's a wild story.
yeah, it was like I get goosebumps just thinking about it because I had no business doing that job, but I found a way. And when I quoted that job, I quoted 6 months rent and all the machines into the job. So I thought, if I get it, great. I'll do the job. I'll have 3 months to basically find my next job, without being too stressed and, worrying where that money's coming from. So I was able to outfit my shop and have 6 months rent covered that was the profits of that job.
Something important in there is that you had a plan, right? And I think there's a couple different types of people, but that story would scare the hell out of a lot of people, especially a lot of people who live for security, within themselves and in their life. But what's really cool about that is that you took a calculated risk on yourself. You gave yourself 3 months to find more work.
Yeah.
You used the money to help buy some tools that will help you better your future.
Yeah.
You didn't just hoard all that and say, here's like my security for the next 6 months.
No, I was all in.
You were
all
all
the
in.
time.
You were all in.
I still am. Like there's not like, well, now it's a little better, but up until a few years ago, I'm all in all the time. And, when rent's coming out next month, I normally don't know where it is till the week before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stressful, but the all in, like I like that pressure. As soon as there's money in the account, I get a little complacent and I actually don't like it. I like pretend like I don't have money so I can.
But you're a performer. Like that's like it's Dwayne Wade, that's Michael Jordan, it's Sidney Crosby. It's like when the gold medal is on the line.
You want to have the puck. You want to have the ball.
You
Yeah.
wanna shoot.
Yeah.
And that pressure, that's probably what keeps you going, right?
Oh, I love it. I hate it when things go too smooth. In fact, as soon as things start going too smooth, I make note to change something because I just don't want to be complacent.
Sound familiar, dude?
Yeah, it does, but like, so one of the things I'm trying to get Jay to practice, which you mentioned there, is you pretend like you don't have money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, like it's cool if we like build up an amount in the bank account. Like people don't frown upon that. It's not like
it's
a thing
smart business move to have a little cushion.
It really is. And like, so I'm like, hey, like let's just pretend that like 50 grand is our zero. Like if we have 50 grand, we're flat broke.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like
that rainy day money.
Let's call like 200,000 like our zero.
Yeah.
And if we have that, then like we're flat broke and we got to figure out what to do. Like
if somebody calls up, says, hey, like you want to buy this log of slabs, you say, no, I don't have any money. Where
exactly,
you know, I do that now a little bit, but not to the extent that I should. Right. But it's hard because you want to invest, you want to grow, you want to just keep things blowing up, and you can't do that. The money in the bank typically doesn't earn you as much as it can when it's executed and deployed.
That is absolutely correct, right? And you need that capital though to make those smart, educated decisions. Where you know where to spend the money to get more money in. So
yeah, but at the same time, you have to have like emergency fund and all of those things.
You don't have to. It's a good idea, but
I guess as you two are living proof over there, you don't have to have it, but
it's just stressful, and a lot of people can't handle that stress. You know, a lot of people would buckle under that pressure, but I kind of thrive off of it, and I aim to have that kind of stress. And you know, as I get older, I don't want that stress as much, especially with kids and
don't lie to
a
yourself.
wife. And
don't lie to yourself. Yeah, I say the same thing to myself too. Like I'm like, I want to, you know, I want a day that I don't feel that stress. But then the honest answer is that like no,
you don't.
No, I don't. If I feel super comfortable and complacent, I'd end up uprooting my whole life and moving to the moon, you know?
Or adding another,
6
goal
businesses.
to the business. Exactly.
yeah, but then like realistically, so Jeff's got 3 sons, right? Yep. So kudos to his wife because she's got a house full of boys.
My wife,
1, 3, and 5, and then and then Jeff, which I would assume anybody who like runs a business, she
does
my
wife. She holds it down. She takes care of everything outside of work. She's got it taken care of. She does it with a smile. She doesn't complain. So
like
shout out to her.
House full of boys.
Oh yeah,
taking care of all of those things. But realistically, like you've kind of got this picture where you've got your work-life balance now. You've got all these different your 5 businesses, and then you find that okay, now I've got 3 boys. I have to pass that torch in the future. I don't have 1 kid. I don't have 2 kids. Now I have to build enough that like you're not shorting one. You're not shorting
unless you want to short one or something.
It depends on when you start having multiple kids at home though. It depends on what day of the week it is as to like which one you want to just short change, right?
Sure.
Like you're getting nothing, and then like the other like the next day I tell. Any parent, I don't know, maybe the people do it differently, but like I'll tell everyone, like, you're my favorite kid today. And it can change. Like 15 minutes later, I've got the other one being like, hey, you said that to me 15 minutes ago. And I'm like, you're at the bottom of the freaking list now. Like you're done. But
competing for dad's
exactly.
love there.
But so like now I feel like even that, like from a pressure standpoint, okay, now you've built a living for your family. You've built these businesses to be able to live relatively comfortably, and you have some stress there. But now you've put this pressure on yourself potentially to, or at least this is how I do it for myself, is that like now I can't just take care of myself, but I've got to figure out how I can leave each one of my children in a good place.
Yeah.
And there's the stress of that.
Yeah, I think about it all the time. I'm like, do I, keep all the businesses and not sell any of them down the road, and then like they each get one, but then they're all going to be different. Like each business would be a different value, different size. So I don't think about it from like a kind of like an inheritance, or when I retire, I hand it off to them. I think of it more like, one way or another, they're all going to be taken care of. And,
right.
Hey, would you ever sell Jeff Mack Designs?
I would. Surprisingly.
What's your number?
What's my number? Oh, I haven't thought about that, but it'd be
high.
It'd be high. I don't like to put numbers on it.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
I don't know. I could be totally out to lunch, but I think I could get more than 10 mil for it.
I think you could get way more than 10 million for your business.
You think so?
Yeah.
That was like, I was going to ask whether it had like, I feel like 8 digits was at least the right number.
Yeah. I mean, the way I try to like evaluate that is like, if somebody came in and offered me 8 tomorrow, I would say no.
Right.
But if somebody offered me 9, I would like start thinking. If the offer was 10, I'd sit down and really consider it. If it was above that, I would probably, think about it a little quicker and make a move potentially. But
I think the perceived, the actual, I don't know all your assets and everything that you have in the business, but like we've talked quite a bit about your sales numbers and figures over the years, and you just do some quick math when you hear those, and then you start to factor in what you've actually created as a brand, and your brand is worldwide now.
Oh yeah,
you're a global entity.
When I was in Belgium last week with Rubio, when we were doing the build, there was random woodworkers coming up to me being like, I'd never seen these people, I never heard of them. You got me into woodworking, you inspired me to start my own company.
And they knew it was you?
Yeah.
Where did they see you?
Surprisingly, I used to be in some old YouTube videos.
Okay, I was going to say.
And I was wearing the hat. That's the only way.
Watching Google Earth just outside of your shop until you leave.
But it was wild to be in another country with a bunch of random people I've never met, and I got pulled aside probably 5 or 6 times in the one day, being like, "Can we get a picture? Can we get this?" And like, it's surreal to feel that. And I never, I think of myself in my own little bubble. Like I think of my shop and a few other local shops and my handful of customers, but I don't think of like the actual numbers of the size of the audience. But
it's massive. And do you mind if I share a little story?
It depends on what story it is, very obviously.
Oh my goodness.
None
of those stories. We haven't had enough of these yet.
Jeez.
We can edit this out.
Yeah, right? We're going to edit this red card.
Let's just go ahead and say that this is probably going to get cut, but go on.
Okay. Silence for 1, 2. So I'm going to share a little bit of little story here. Jeff, when I started, I used to come down and visit you. I was in Kingston, and I would drive down, and you would take the time to sit with me and not talk about the wood species, not talk about the builds, but I would ask you questions of like your business.
Yeah.
I was asking how you were running at the time. You were doing some like Amazon affiliate stuff.
Yeah,
you had the little scrapers and the glue stuff, and I was like, how do I get into this? Because obviously, like, I'm going to try and grow this business, and this is before I had really made a brand for myself.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, how do I get into the nitty gritty stuff in this industry and try and figure out how to start monetizing, everything that I'm using on a day-to-day basis. And, you took that time with me and talked to me about how you set up your accounts, like what you needed to do. And like, that was so powerful. And I don't even think you really probably realized at the time, like what you actually unlocked in my brain. Mm-hmm. But I would call you not just a friend, but I would call you like a mentor in my career. And I will never forget, a lot of those conversations, just some of the small things that you mentioned during those conversations. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I'm following you every day on social media. And at the time, I'm watching kind of how you and your staff, you're doing everything, and like how you're filming all the social media. And like, I've always wanted to be the type that has my own style, and I don't really want to emulate anybody else. Just take from some of those things that I've seen success in. But like, there's a lot in my work and a lot that I've, in what I've built here with this brand, that comes from the work and that you've done and the path that you've paved. Yeah. And I can only imagine how many other people you've done that to.
I can share, and I can personally attest that there's a piece of content that Jeff put out that's on his website. I'm not going to share it because I'm still kind of a selfish asshole, but I won't go as far as what you shared, but a piece of content that you shared on your website that really helped me 10x my little side hustle, my personal business, because getting into the woodworking industry for me was a necessity. Mm-hmm. Immigrating to Canada, not being able to work, kind of flying under the radar at first.
Yeah.
There was like a necessity to be able to make some money that to work outside the system until I was able to work in the system. Right. Unfortunately, it is what it is.
And then he was my customer.
I was a Jason customer, absolutely. However, I got my greatest piece of information from Jeff.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
There's that, but I will share it. I feel like somebody, I can't remember whether it was a blog or what it was, but you said, hey, if I had this to do all over again, or a piece of advice that I would give a maker, I would find this particular demographic of business and I would go pursue them for their business, and I would grow from there. that's exactly what I did. That's where I found that piece of information. I went from selling 1 or 2 charcuterie boards a week to 10 charcuterie boards a week to 40 charcuterie boards a week. And I did it based on that piece of information that was on your website. Things that you probably never hear, or maybe you do occasionally here and there, but you know, a very similar story to what you have.
One thing I always like a kind of a motto that I've kind of believed in from the beginning is all the info that I share, it's all available on the internet somewhere. But why not be the resource for it? One, just because, you know, it's a good thing to do. But it also obviously helps with business because you become a resource for people and you become a destination kind of on the internet for people to learn, or, you know, maybe just get a bit of entertainment out of it. But it's all out there. But if we can kind of put it together in a nice little, you know, package online and people can learn from it, and it's, you know, it's empowering to earn your own money and work for your own, like work for yourself and provide a living for you and other people potentially. So it's cool to see other people do that who, you know, maybe didn't think they could, or in your position, like had to find a way, and you were able to use a bit of info that we provided. And so it feels good. And I did not know that. So it's interesting.
I'd never shared that until now. But
when you watch companies grow around you, like when you think back, you know, use myself as an example. I'm coming in buying, you know, some of the cheapest slabs I can find, and like some of the most like petrified, messed up things I could find just because I was trying to make, you know, cool art. And you watch that from that first conversation where you're clearly probably like, this guy has no idea what the fuck he's doing.
No,
and then
it was different with you.
Maybe, but watching that transition, like, and then seeing these businesses start thriving, and then you start to see some of the pieces that some of these people are putting out, and like, how does it make you feel?
It's a cool feeling, and I love business. I love talking about business. So, you know, back when we used to be open to the public, customers would come in, and, you know, there's a lot of kind of younger people that would come in and be like, oh, like I'm trying to do this and I want to, you know, try to make some money, and I would try to kind of teach them a little, without getting too like, you know, in their face about it, because, you know, they just come in to buy a piece of wood, and now I'm talking their ear off. But I really enjoy it, and I like strategizing with business and discussing business, and it's fun. So I've seen quite a few businesses kind of grow with, I don't want to say it's like with my help, but I've been kind of part of those initial conversations, and maybe steered them down this road instead of that road. Right. And, you know, both roads could work, but this might have been a little bit more of a profitable one, you know?
Well, I feel like I need to thank Boots and Hearts right now, because I like, had that not happened, even though you say you started your own business, had the Boots and Hearts thing not happened, you may have still taken a different path.
Oh, totally. I might have been heavier in the metal work instead of the wood. That kind of broke open the woodworking side. You know, next thing you know, I own a planer and a jointer and handful of other things to do woodworking. So it's changed the path of everything for sure.
And I think that's kind of like one of the things of your business is that, like, at least my appreciation for your business is like your originality, but also what I perceive to be your desire to make woodworking accessible to as many people as possible. Because realistically, is that what you build your business around? Is like, how do I make this more accessible to people? Because, you know, you offer molds, you offer epoxy, you offer all the things that you use in your shop. But realistically, now you've said, okay, I'm going to cut down wood to be able to put in a mold. I'm going to provide templates.
Mold itself.
The mold itself. I'm going to provide templates. I'm going to provide the pigment and all those things. So realistically, my perceived value is that you've said, I'm going to go to the woodworking community, and I'm going to like make you a better woodworker, and I'm going to be able to give you tools to make high quality products, and you can be working out of your kitchen, you can be working out of, you know, a closet somewhere.
So our tagline on the website is educate and supply. So our goal is to kind of take out that path of like, take out the resistance of like, hey, I want to make that. And if they can come to our website and learn everything they need and buy everything, the resistance is low. Instead of them having to go to like that website to learn that, go to that website to learn that, go buy your piece of wood from this website, buy your wood finish from that website. Nobody wants to do that. They want to go to one spot if they could learn a bit. And we still have a lot to do on the learning side. We haven't really scratched the surface there, but I think the supply side we've got, you know, relatively down. But you know, it's kind of like the money follows the path of least resistance.
Right.
So every level of resistance we can remove for that beginner woodworker, you know, is good for them, and in retro, or like side by side, it's good for me because it turns into, you know, sales.
Well, I can see even from like the stuff that you share that like beginner woodworkers, the things that you share on your page that they've created, like the quality of work from a beginning woodworker has gone up exponentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always crazy to me because there are so many customers out there, or so many people, I believe that cheaper prices that should dictate where they buy, and how inexpensive something is actually increases its value to them. But I think you've done the Apple approach, and and to me that's about providing something that's quality and that is backed by good proven results.
Yep.
And a lot of the things that you're doing, you're not reinventing the wheel, but what you're doing is you're making it more accessible.
Yeah.
It looks prettier. You package it up nicely, and it always looks presentable. You do a very good job of marketing everything that you do, and then you turn around and you share all that content. So you create it's almost like a ping pong, right? So somebody invests into the product that they're purchasing from you, and in turn they're investing into their own future of their craft.
But the thing I love about it the most is that he's not even doing it at the cheapest price, because a lot of times when a business will build something that I'm now manufacturing this and doing this, I'm also going to be the cheap. You have no reason to be the cheapest.
No,
right?
no. If anything, he's on the more expensive side. But
I'd say I'm like middle to more expensive. But one of the things I always tell people, somebody will call in and be like, hey, I want to buy some epoxy. Which one should I get? And I'll obviously suggest one that we sell on our website. And they'll be like, well, I found this one on Amazon. And sometimes I say it, sometimes I don't, because I think it's kind of rude. But I'll say, if you have an issue with your epoxy and you call Amazon, how much help are they going to be? Where our customers, if they pour the epoxy and there's an issue, or they're about to mix, and I'm not sure how to mix this, they can call us up and we tell them right then and there. So that level of customer service on the back end goes a long way, especially with the beginners. After you've done your 10th pour, you're not calling up for epoxy advice.
Unless the thing flash cures on you like crazy and does something wild,
Yeah, which so there's, you can buy stuff on Amazon for cheaper, but when you have an issue, who are you going to call? You can't call anybody. So that's where you're kind of paying for some customer service in there as well.
But it's also that share back too, right? I think there's so much value in what you've done to help that individual who's purchased from you. And if they're tagging you, I see that you're going out of your way. You're probably not going to hit everybody, but you
try to share.
Yeah, you share and you comment and you interact.
Well, it takes me 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but it means kind of the world to them. And, I've kind of launched a bunch of my customers' little businesses out of their garages. And a lot of them are young kids. They're 18, 17, and they're still in high school and they want to figure out, how to make some money. And, I'll definitely repost their stuff because, if I can get them a couple customers and, them selling 2 or 3 charcuterie boards is a huge deal. And at the end of the day, we don't even make those small things to sell. So, we have a list of people that we refer to, and we've helped build a bunch of businesses with kind of the smaller items.
Customer loyalty is one of the most difficult things to attain in a business like ours, or in any business. And I think, doing those little extra steps to try and create that loyalty is it's astronomical. You're never going to catch everybody that you've turned into, look what happened here, right? I was your customer, and then all of a sudden I have my own supply. I have my own things.
And I was your customer.
Yeah. And now you have my supply.
Yeah.
And also your own supply. Eric is the charcuterie king. You need to know this. And he's the off-cut ostrich here. So that was the joke, saying that.
Oh, that's true. As soon the end of the table doesn't even hit the floor, the J cuts off.
What are you doing with that offcut?
I'm like, hey, what are you doing with that offcut?
Yeah, you hear it from across the room. Literally, it hasn't dropped yet.
When I hear the track saw running, it's like the equivalent of the Shopify cha-ching.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's my money.
But you know what? To you, that's not worth a whole lot. But to you can make it into a $50 item, $100 item.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, why not?
It helps his family, right?
It's going to be firewood, otherwise. So,
Yeah, but anyway, so loyalty. So you're creating that loyalty, and you're helping sustain it for a longer period of time. And I think, with this podcast anyway, what we want to try and talk about is really the monetization and some of the things that guys like you have done to actually, do your best to monetize your business. And I think that this is a really good point that I think any listener should realize, is that, what Jeff has done is he's created a good platform that has become accessible to everybody, and then he does his absolute best to make sure that all that content is consistently getting reinvested back into that customer who's purchasing. And you've created a when I say the Apple model, you've created almost like your little iCloud, right? Like you've created a customer journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool.
We've got online customers who have ordered over 50 times. We have multiple.
I'm master fitted to the logo, denim in the club seats,